Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am your host, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. I am your bastard of ceremonies, the #1 scumbag. Coming to you, as always, from the lavish Lavender Lounge, and joined, as always, by Keith Hernandez Puppet, my consigliere, manning the door, making sure nobody gets in the sound studio. That's Keith's job, and he takes it serious. Of course, you're looking at me and saying, where else do I know you from? Well, you might also know me as a.k.a. the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth. That's right, I am the son of glam, the front man for the band, just smoked a few grams, got 1 million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Bop, Loo Bop, Wop Bam Bam, Shazam, Hot Damn, and all that good stuff. And you want the rocks? You want the lavish locks that rock? Get the product that does it for me. Now let me give myself a look because I've got a guest wanting in here on Pod Scum. Time is of the essence, so let's get down to it and chop it up. Woo! Feeling good here. All right. And this is a Hollywood celebrity here, so let me really make sure that my quaff is in order. Do we have him? Do we have him? Do we have him? Hey, sorry about that, sir. Got our wires crossed a little bit there. My apologies.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
I'm realizing that I'm a 50-year-old man trying this technology thing, and it isn't always easy. I'll tell you.
I'm only a year and a half behind you. So
yeah, like we just didn't grow up with it. This is, of course, for my audience, Jason Brooks, who a lot of people wouldn't know your face because you're probably most famous for playing Jason.
Yeah.
The legendary Jason Voorhies. Now, had you always, let me backtrack a little bit. Have you always had the acting bug? Has that always been the life's path?
Yeah, I think, well, not just acting, but being a part of movies. Ever since I was about 8 years old, I can remember I always wanted to be a part of movies, whether I was doing costumes or being in the movies. And I wanted that really bad. And always the characters and the creatures and everything.
And it's pretty cool because when you play an iconic character like Jason, you almost step right into and inherit almost a legendary status right there.
Yeah, if you do it right.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious that you brought that up because a couple weeks ago I had the pleasure of talking with Brad Laree, and he played Michael Myers in the Resurrection movie. And I'm interested, how did you prepare for a role like this? Because he said that he watched like some of the people that he thought had the gait down and the walk down and the mannerisms down of Michael Myers. Did you do that with any of the predecessors that played Jason?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, outside of watching the original movies, I went back and I watched interviews. I went onto YouTube and went to like different convention videos looking at the interviews with like Kane Hodder and TJ Graham, Ted White, and Steve Dash and all that, and just kind of trying to get in their mind too of like, not just mimic their movement, but why do they move that way and see if they're talked about it. So I watched like 38 hours worth of footage to do that and to listen to them and get in their heads. And then when I met with CJ at his house, talked to him as well. And Steve Dash, I had talked to him. And there was a moment when I was at Steve Dash's house down in Florida while we're filming, he called me over to his couch and said, hey man, can I talk to you for a second? I said, sure. And he said, well, I know you did all this research. You've been asking about this. You really care about the character and how we all do this. Can I give you one piece of advice? And I'm like, yes. You're Steve Dash. Of course you can.
Right.
And he said, throw that shit away. Screw it all. Forget it. Be yourself. Just do you. Do your own version of Jason. Don't be me. Don't be CJ. Don't be Kane. He says, do you think that Kane Hodder looked at CJ to say, this is how I should do it? No. Do you think that Ted White looked at me? Do you think that Richard Brooker looked at me or anyone else? No. Everyone did their own version of Jason, and that's what makes them all special. So be the best version of you.
Yeah.
And I did. And so that sticks with me. And I threw it all out the window. And I think the little bits that I love that I've learned have stuck with it and come through. Yeah. But otherwise, it's this culmination and with a bit of myself in it.
Now, when you were growing up, did you have a particular affinity for horror movies in specific?
Not at first. I was 8 years old when I saw Halloween. That was the first horror movie I saw. It was Halloween night. I was at a place. The families all went out and left us with a babysitter. Yeah. And being the oldest kid, the babysitter was like, "Yeah, go ahead and stay up and watch with me." And so was my first experience with a horror movie ever. I didn't even know horror existed. It scared me for a bit. And then it wasn't until a couple of years later that I started getting back into it and having fun with it in my early teen years. And it became my birthday every year. We'd have friends over, watch a few horror movies and rent the VHS and all. And I started liking it. And in Fangoria magazine, I just really was attracted to the effects and how they did things. Real blood, real gore, I can't stomach. But something about creating this fake gore, I was really attracted to it. And so that's kind of how I kind of got into horror was the kills and the effects and the blood and just the monsters.
See, my day job is in healthcare. I work as a nurse, so I have been on that side of seeing a real gore, and I don't even think even when you're doing it as a profession, it's really something that ever seems really natural. You know what I mean? Like you never really want to have to witness it. But so after the babysitter lets you watch these movies and you need years and years of therapy, do you send this babysitter the bills?
No, I should send her the thank yous.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks. This culminated in me playing Jason. So what were the first movies that you remember as a kid, like really falling in love with? Like, do you remember any specific movies that really helped you catch the bug?
Yeah, Star Wars. It was my very first memories of kind of coming into my own like self-awareness. I was like 3 years old, maybe 2 years old, 3 years old. And my first memories where I'm coming to and starting to remember things consistently when my mind awoke in that way was playing with action figures. I had a couple of Star Wars action figures, an R4D4 and a Death Star droid.
Me too.
And those are the two I had. I didn't know what they were from or anything, but I was playing with those on a couch. And then a few years later, and we didn't have, TV. We were poor growing up. We didn't go to movies. I didn't even know movie theaters existed. But around the 7 years old mark, we went to someone's house. Again, my parents took us to a house. We got thrown downstairs with all the other kids in the basement. They're watching HBO and Star Wars was on. And the first scene I saw was the Millennium Falcon going into hyperspace.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that?
I know.
What? And so I got really excited. And then we had to leave before the movie was over. I was really disappointed, trying to explain to my parents, like, I need to watch the rest. What is this? And it took a while, but finally I saw it. And then just fell in love with those movies. But it's the costumes and the production design and everything. I just really loved it, and I knew I needed to be a part of that somehow. And so whenever I feel inspired by a movie, whether it's horror or sci-fi or anything like that, that's what gives me the bug.
It's funny too, because those movies, I think, and obviously CGI and what they're able to do in the film industry has come a long way. But those films really hold up. Like I'll still sit down and you know what the nice thing is, and I've talked to a lot of musicians on here about like how a song or an album can do this too. But when you're watching those movies, it's almost like you're transported right back to that period that you're talking about. You're a kid again, and you're fucking, you're thinking you could be a Jedi and you can carry a lightsaber and like it's great when movies or pieces of art can do that for you, kind of transport you to a time and make you think of right where you were when that movie came out.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what Star Wars does for me. It reminds me of being in school and getting that little order form where you can order your little sticker books and your erasers and all the things. And also like with the original Friday the 13th, the first one reminds me of going to the public library and renting the VHS and sitting at home in this little room and watching it. And
what was your big break with acting though? Like, what would you say, in the business, I don't work in the, in the acting entertainment field. What would you say, if somebody were to ask you your first big break was?
Oh yeah. I think it'd be this for sure. I mean, I've worked on several independent films, small films, little projects, doing graphic design, doing costumes, props, wardrobe, whatever, production design. And then and I do some volunteering at haunted houses and everything. Once I heard about the Friday the 13th mythos being filmed in Idaho, I knew I wanted to do that. I was being Jason. I made my own costume for the haunted house locally. And I just really wanted to be that character really badly. So I reached out to them and to a couple people in the production and said, I want to audition. And they said, thank you, but no, thank you. We're out in Idaho. We're only hiring local. We've got like 88 people in here. And sorry, it's we're going to go local. And I was like, damn it. So that night I sat there with that information. I didn't like it. so I had my son, film me. I went put the costume on. I said, film me doing some action here. So I did, and I just kind of pantomimed some movements, and then sent it to him. And then a couple of days later, the director called me back, and he's like, that was impressive. We're listening. So here's some script sides. Go act this out. And they gave me a scene from the movie they're working on. So we went out and did that, and acted out that scene and sent that back to him. And then his team, the producers, the DP, they sent me a video back saying, congratulations, you got it. He said, of all the people we saw, you're the first one that has the right height, the right size, the right build, the right movements without any direction whatsoever. He said, some people were able to move, no direction, but they didn't have the right size. Some people had the right size, but we had to direct them. You just nailed it beginning to end. And so I got the job, and that was my first big break. And then has opened the door for many other things.
That's a great story for people that are like young and trying to get in the entertainment business, that you can still once in a while, end up with a big payoff just by throwing caution in the wind and saying, yeah, fuck it. They told me that that the room was full with people auditioning, but I'm going to fucking get something in their hands anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And, where I'm at now, I get people writing me all the time saying, hey, I want an opportunity. I'm an actor. I want to be in the film, or I do this. Yeah. I want to be part of it. And my first instinct always is, I already have a team, or I already have actors, I already have whatever.
Right.
I'm not thinking about their position. I don't know their talent. I don't know what's going on. And so I try to remember that sometimes, like, people need a chance sometimes. But
yeah,
if they give it to me, there's also the fine line of being kind of, annoying or over the top and pushing too hard.
You're towing a fine line there. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I had somebody in the movie when we were filming the first one who said, hey, I like to play Jason Voorhies. I want to be your Jason Voorhies. And I said, hey, I'm the Jason Voorhies in the film. And then they just sent me like 100 pictures of them in costume. Yeah. I'm like, great. You look great. That's awesome. But I'm playing Jason Voorhies.
Yeah.
And then they sent me videos and said, no, I need to be your Jason. It's like, that's a bit too far. But but there's been other people that have like sent things, and it's like when you can hear it and experience it, it's like, yes, that I'm glad I was able to hear this and experience your talent and be able to pull you on.
Yeah. Now, obviously, a lot of the movies, and there have been a lot of them, certainly the Friday the 13th, the whole compilation of movies has certainly, spawned some that have been panned by critics and fans too. That now, to prepare for this, did you go back and have to watch the entire canon of Friday the 13th movies, or did you just focus on certain ones?
Well, I really focused on part 6 because The Vengeance is a sequel to part 6. Okay. And then when I did Roseblood, I watched part 7 because on that one in particular, I didn't want to do my own version. I wanted to do the Kane Hodder version, knowing that fans of the franchise, fans of Friday the 13th, doing a sequel to part 7 would mean you have to be Kane Hodder or they're going to eat you alive.
Right.
So I absolutely did research and to kind of understand pieces I may have missed as a fan, watching it for my own things. I want to watch it as kind of vicariously through any fan's eyes and then see it. So I did. I went 1 through 6, then watched 6 a few more times. And really wanted to make sure that I was connected to CJ in that, and I could carry on all the legendary work that he did in part 6.
What are the nuances that you're looking for, though? Like, what did you pull from watching what you did watch? What were the most important elements that you thought you had to get right to be an effective Jason?
Yeah, so one of the things what I noticed was, like, especially in the new one in Bloodlines, we're creating the fight scene for the final battle between everyone and Tommy Jarvis and Jason and Elias and all this stuff. And we're trying to figure out, how would Jason fight? It's not, he doesn't do choreographed fighting. It's not like everybody was kung fu fighting type of thing.
Right.
So like, how do you build a fight scene and a final battle with this? And so we have the Jarvis girls, who are, of course, very nimble and fast. They can fight, they can squirm around, but they don't have a lot of power.
Right.
So how do they go against Jason? So I went back to watch to see, how do these final girls, how do these people fight? And then you have people with guns who shoot, but then Jason doesn't die from gunshots,
Right.
And then we have Tommy Jarvis, and how does he fight against Jason when Jason is obviously overpowered? And so it was kind of those things where I went back to watch to see, how do these people behave? What are the kind of the rules and the laws within the franchise that have been built, and went from there. And And I think we landed in a really good place taking that. And we found, in watching that, we saw like in part 6, there's not a fight. There's like a big ending, but they don't actually fight. They don't throw hands. It's like, Tom is basically running away while Jason kills people, and there's not an actual battle. So until the end with the boat and the rock and the fire and stuff. And so it's like, how do we build our own version of that, watching the history of how this really plays out? So that's where we went back to look at that.
Now, if I could take put a personal spin on a question, are you someone with a family and children of your own?
I am.
If your kids are not old enough to watch a movie like this, how do you explain, if they are able to see it, you know what I mean, that's you playing that and doing these acts of violence and stuff? How do you explain that, like, as an actor / and a parent?
Yeah, my kids are 17 and 22.
Okay, so plenty old enough to see it.
Plenty old enough, and also, and years ago, 5 years ago, when we started this whole thing, and working in this, and prior, when I worked on horror effects for other independent films, they're both very talented artists in their own rights.
Okay,
and so they get to see me working on prosthetics or props or gore, and as an art, and they get to be a part of it. And so my son, the oldest one, who's just turned 22 yesterday, he actually made the masks, the hockey masks for the last film, and he made all the stunt masks for the first Vengeance, and so he is absolutely like a prop maker. He has his own talents. My other son's a musician and artist, so they've been around to help with the filmmaking. They get to see behind the scenes, and they know it's all a process, and they love movies just like me. It's in their,
and they see the theatrical side of it too, obviously, and the artistic side of it.
Yes, and they're very much behind the scenes people. They buy the Blu-rays, DVDs, so that way they can see how the things were made, what the making of looks like. That's their interest as well.
Now, do you have has there been a time when you've been at anything where you yourself have met anybody in the entertainment business where you've been starstruck or met somebody that kind of, you were, kind of, in awe of?
Oh, all the time. Everyone I meet is like, it's amazing. I mean, I remember when I first met CJ Graham. It was the very first time. I never met him at a convention. Never, it was just weird timing going to conventions. There was never a Jason Voorhies there, coincidentally. But the first time I met him, I was at his house in Kingston, Arizona, and showed up there, flew down there, and knocked on the door. And as I'm waiting for him to answer the door, I just had this moment of, oh my God, I am at CJ Graham's house.
Yeah.
This is
what surreal.
Yeah, people pay so much money to go to a convention, pay for hotel, parking, whatever, badge, to go meet and get an autograph and say hello for, 30 seconds. And here I am at his home. Yeah. And the same thing with Steve Dash when we flew to Florida, same exact thing. And I was starstruck with these guys. And now they're, like with CJ and all the people I've worked with, they're family. And Darcy DeMoss, same thing. It's like, holy cow, you are the first aerobicized girl. You are Darcy. You are Nikki from Part 6. Yeah. All the people that I've watched in films that I've admired or films that I've enjoyed. Richie Ramone, I was also starstruck with. But they're all just real, genuine people with the same kind of passion. Like once we get together, we realize we all have a love for art. We all have a love for movies, film, music, whatever it is. And that's what drives us. And we all connect on that. So.
Well, if I could backtrack on something you just said, did you say that usually these conventions do not have a Jason present at them?
No, prior to the filming, the ones I've gone to, the ones I've gone to didn't. Or if there was, like Kane Hodder came to Crypticon in Seattle, I was unavailable that year, so I was somewhere else. I wasn't able to go to that one. And then CJ was there, Ken Kersinger, and whenever there's a Jason Hector that's been present locally, I've been doing something else or busy, or I have been unable to go. And the years I can go, they're not there. And then I haven't done a lot of traveling because most of the conventions are East Coast or another state. So it would be a lot of money. And I've been, I put that money elsewhere rather than flying to another state for a convention. So
now, obviously, I know you playing the role of Jason is certainly iconic, but are you a fan of of any of the other canons of any of the other iconic slashers, i.e., your Freddy Kruegers, your Michael Myers, Pinhead, Leatherface? Are there any other ones in your mind that are as iconic as Jason? I'm a huge Michael Myers guy. Not that I'm not a Jason guy, but I'm a huge Michael Myers fan.
No, absolutely. And with Halloween, the original Halloween being my very first horror movie ever,
terrifying.
I've got a soft spot for that,
Yeah.
and it still sticks with me. I can remember sitting on the couch. I remember what the living room looked like when I saw Jamie Lee Curtis stab that knitting needle in the neck.
Terrifying.
I remember where it was. And so Michael Myers, absolutely. Freddy Krueger. I love Robert Englund. I think he does a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Doug Bradley as Pinhead. Paul Taylor as Pinhead. I watched all the Hellraisers, and as they went on, kind of became disappointed where maybe it went. And then Paul Taylor picked up the helm and nailed it. I really loved his interpretation of it. The new movie I liked. I just love all the major franchises. And I have respect for them. I think it's I love them all, but I think that Friday the 13th and Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, those are the top three, of course.
Yeah, no doubt, no question.
Yeah,
I would totally, I would totally agree with that. So when you make these, are you as the main character and the guy doing Jason's actions, do you have any kind of creative input into the creative side as far as like the kills or the manner that you kill somebody in?
Oh, absolutely. So in the first Vengeance, I helped with a bit of the writing here and there and with the kills, and then coming up with some of those ideas. For Roseblood, I didn't come up with that. That was all written for me.
How do you come up with the ideas? Are they based on like what you think you can do or what would look cool based on your physical abilities? Like, hey, I know for sure that I could stab somebody and lift them up, or you know what I mean? Is it based on any of the physicality?
A little bit, like in Bloodlines, the latest one. So I wrote and directed that one. So I wrote all the kills.
Okay.
And so as I was writing them, the way my brain works for that is I really wanted in this one to do environmental kills. Like, I don't want just like, hey, here's a machete, I'm walking around, slab, stash, slash.
Sure.
It just feels boring to me. I wanted something more creative. And so I thought, what environment are they in? How can Jason use what's around to do the kill?
Right.
And some of the things we did on the spot while we're filming is like, and I wanted that on purpose. Like with the roadblock, I really wanted to be like, I want to see what's there. And if I was Jason and I'm just this brutal killing machine that's there to be destructive, what's around me? What would I do if I was in Jason's shoes? And that's where we got the kills where I ripped the intestines out of the one girl and then strangled the next girl with those intestines.
Yeah.
Is because, that's where that comes from. But the same time in writing the script, I have like the stoner redneck cabin. They have knives, they have bows and arrows, they have chainsaws. Right. And I'm like, I don't want Jason to use a bow and arrow and shoot this person back. I don't think he's got that.
It loses a little luster. We think of Jason as like a masterful archer.
Right. Exactly. And I think that takes away from the Jason character a bit. If he's able to then aim and have this motor skill. So I think how would this animal creature, semi-intelligent, but how would he use a bow and arrow? He would just use it as a blunt force object. He would strangle someone with it. He would stab them. So that's why I have him stabbing the girl, smashing someone's face in the table. And then the chainsaw, I don't want him walking around like Leatherface, wheeling it around like a weapon. Like he's like, oh, this is a destructive thing. Let's shove a face down onto it. So I wanted to try to use weapons in a different way that are not obvious. Like, how would a Neanderthal, how would somebody, an alien come down, not understand these tools?
Right.
How would they be destructive with them? And that's how I wrote.
And I think that that's a good way to do it, because I think probably the two that fall into the category of most similar are probably Jason and Michael Myers. But you think of them like more as just like these killing machines that are just like on a straight path, almost just like a shark, just gobbling everything up in front of them. You know what I mean? But they don't really give a lot of forethought, although they do make some of the kills creative. But I feel like they make the creative ones almost, at least in the Halloween canon, I feel like they make the Halloween ones where you don't really see all the prep work that goes into it. You just, all of a sudden, you just see like the body on the bed with the headstone there, or the nurse in the hospital with the IV and all the blood pouring out of her. You never really see like Michael get down to all the all the little minute details. She just ends up that way, But I think for the most part, though, you're expecting those guys like just to be running roughshod over people, blunt objects, sharp objects,
Right. And it's smart sometimes, because you don't want to see Michael Myers or Jason getting a needle out and pulling the stuff off and getting it prepped and getting it ready, holding it down, shoving it inside,
Right.
There's a certain delicacy to that you don't want to see. You just want to see the aftermath that looks horrific, and you let your imagination fill in the gaps of, like, if that happened to me, that's where I think it's good. So in Vengeance Bloodlines, I only wanted to show the kills that I thought would be like, here's something that'd be fun to watch, or painful, or kind of gut wrenching to see, and you kind of want to look away. And the ones that were like, this would be a fun aftermath, but you don't really want to watch Jason do this, then we'll shoot it off screen and then show the aftermath. So,
well, here's a very polarizing subject, though, and I'm interested to get your take on it because you are associated with the Friday the 13th. Do you think any of these movies, and I'm not just pointing directly at Friday the 13th, all of them, do you think sometimes, though, that they go too far with the sequels and they really start to reach, like, when you get to, like, and I love some of these movies, so I am guilty of it, but you hear people say, oh, Jason takes Manhattan, Jason does this, Michael Myers, The Return, The Curse of, The Revenge of, H2O, you know what I mean? Do you think some of these are, or do you think just keep going with them if they're making money and that's what the people want to see?
Well, I think that's the thing. There's not one answer to that. I think, no, it's not too far, because people want more. People want another good Friday the 13th. And with Bloodlines, we made the movie we wanted to see that hasn't been done yet. And then people are responding to that. We can look at the comments. People are like, holy crap, I didn't realize I needed this so much in my life. And this was an amazing, ending. This is what we needed. This could finalize the entire franchise. And if we didn't do that, then people wouldn't have had that. But people want more. But what happens is, it's like you said, it's the cash grab. It's we can make money on the franchise, throw something together, but don't kill them, but kill them, but don't. And then we get stuck with this kind of half-baked, people are, directors and writers are putting handcuffs on. They can't make what they really want because the studios, so then it's like, here's a product, here's Jason, here's what it is, but make it different and exciting. So it's not the same tropes as last time or the same exact thing as last time. And they try to come up with something new. They try to put a spin on it. And sometimes it's those ingredients that might make it like, no, the audience wants something, but they didn't want that.
Right.
The audience wants to feel like they did in 1986. The audience wants to feel like they did in 1983, and it's really hard to find that balance and those ingredients to bring those feelings back, those nostalgic feelings of watching it in your parents' basement or watching it in your room at night. Like it's hard to get that, and if you can do it right, I think it's a win. If you can't, then we just have something fun that we can watch and we have more content.
Where do you stand on, like, and I don't know, you may or may not have seen these yet, but they obviously have two of them out now, but and again, another movie that has a lot of polarizing views on it, these Terrifier movies. Have you seen these at all? And do you think that I know we were talking earlier about gore and violence, obviously, these movies are pretty much, hanging their hat on those themes. Do you think it goes too far? Do you think it's genuinely scary?
No, for me, it's funny. Like, as far as scary, I've lost the film scare, a long time ago, because
you've seen behind the curtain. You've seen behind the curtain too much.
Exactly. And so for me, I'm more
jaded a little. Yeah,
exactly. It's not even jaded. I'm just more excited. I'm watching Terrifier 2 in the theater. And I'm watching, I'm like, oh, how did he do that? Oh, I know how he did that. And I know what product he probably used, this, particular kind of silicone here and this particular, silk pig color pigment, because I do that stuff. And so I get excited to see, and same with haunted houses. They don't scare me. I go in it for the art. Right. And I'm like, oh, I see they did this and they did that. And I see this corner, they're probably going to do this gag. And so knowing how the sausage is made, you go and look for those parts. Right. But I don't think they've gone too far. I think it's, there is an audience for it. Obviously, they've made almost $10 million on a $250,000 budget. People love it. People want to see it. There is an audience for it. Is it for everybody? No. but that's okay. It doesn't have to be, and I think it's great. And art in almost any kind of instance or any whatever, it I think it's good, and it's an outlet that you can put out there. People love to see it because it's so far from reality. It's not what you do every day,
Right.
and that's the escape.
Right.
I play a killer in the movie. I can't do real blood and gore. I am a sweet person, I think. I like people, I love people, and I'm not a bad person, but it's fun to make this kind of content.
Sure, absolutely. And I think there's more something fun about the anonymity of it, though. I mean, you are playing this killing machine, and you don't have to put your own face out there and really even attach it to the character. You almost get to do it like in the best way possible, especially with an instance like Jason and Michael. Well, all of them really are hiding their true faces. I mean, you can obviously see some of Robert Englund's facial features, but certainly Leatherface and Freddy and Michael, all of them are really covered up. But what do you think when you see these headlines? And I know some of it is sensationalism, but people are going out of the theater shocked, vomiting, almost fainting. Like, I mean, really, don't you know that when you're going to see a movie called Terrifier, what you're actually going to see? And don't tell me, I mean, everybody's on YouTube nowadays watching these trailers. You're really going into a movie that blind and don't know what you're getting yourself into, that you're going to see a gory movie?
Right. No, and I think some of it, of course, is sensationalism. Some of it is
maybe to sell a few tickets.
Some of it's marketing, and they used to do that back in the day with those old B movies, but it's the most terrifying movie ever. Like, you can't be accountable if you die watching this.
Yeah.
They used to sell tickets for that. And I think and for me, it's a little bit fun and nostalgic seeing some of that marketing being put in now.
Yeah.
And I like it. And Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton, I'm friends with those guys also. And they've flown up to Seattle. We've gone and had dinner and drinks and talked before Terrifier. It was so I have to say I'm a little bit biased, but I do love the movie. I do love the original. All of it. But I think that it's people, for me, the real blood, the real gore, it does make me nauseous.
Yeah.
My sister, she went over handlebars on a bike when I was 16. I took her to the doctor. Her chin was split open. It was open. I got her there, but then I started to pass out once we got done. So I could see where someone might have a weak stomach, think they can handle it, and not know how big it's going to be. And it might affect them in a way they didn't understand.
This is an awfully big card you're playing there, Jason, letting the world know that our new Jason Voorhies panics at the sight of blood.
Yeah. It's I was 16 and I didn't think of it. I had no idea. I just know that her chin was flapped open. You could see veins. You could see her bones on her jaw.
It took me a while. The hardest part, I think, as becoming a nurse was just poking a needle through skin. You know what I mean? Like, that one took a while. I mean, now I can do it very effortlessly. I give people insulin. I give people injections all the time. I mean, it starts to become second nature, almost like muscle memory. But at first, it feels a little weird because you don't really know like how hard to really poke or how much it's going to take to really go through the skin. I mean, it's certainly not for the squeamish healthcare.
No, and needles don't bother me, but real, not blood. Like, people can bleed and it's fine, but real gore,
right?
Skin removed, chunks missing, guts hanging out. People,
because obviously you can deal with some pain. I mean, I've got a lot of tattoos. I can see that you've got some tattoos too. So I mean, obviously you can deal with some needles and a little bit of blood. Yeah, small.
I've got to give myself injections all the time, so I'm good with all that. But it's really the real gore, and like when people like accident crime scene photos, I can't do those. And I don't know, maybe I'm just the human side of me, I have empathy for people, and I look at like those kind of things where people are like, oh, check out this awesome photo of this person whose head's crushed in. And I see somebody's brother, I see somebody's child, I see somebody's father and or daughter, and I can't do it. It just makes me sick. So
I think that's I'm no clinical psychiatrist, but I'm sure that's probably pretty healthy. That probably keeps you out of the psychopath and or sociopath category.
I hope so. But it's fun to play there on TV.
What are your aspirations, though? Like, do you see yourself departing from these kind of movies? Do you ever see yourself in like a leading man role in Hollywood? Are you angling for any parts, aside from just doing horror? I mean, have you thought of yourself in any other, genres?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as we talked about earlier, I love sci-fi. I would love to be in a sci-fi show or sci-fi movie. I still love horror. I'd love to be a part of anything horror. I have not done a lot of unmasked acting. I mean, I've done some here and there, some extra parts and some small bits, and I'd love to do some more of that. Leading man, I don't know. I haven't ever thought about leading man. I've been told like, oh, you should do the leading man thing. I'd be happy to try that. I mean, it would be a wonderful experience to do that. And but I have this affinity for horror, for sci-fi, for special effects, for adventure, for action. And so that's kind of where I'm the happiest. But I also find if I'm on a set doing a drama or doing something else, I'm still really happy.
Right.
But it's happier when we're doing special effects or something. And
well, that seems like that's real, true artistic expression, though. The fact that what's making you the most happy, you know, and where your interest is, that's where you want to, you know, because like then I think that love and that passion, you know, if it's in that particular genre, that's going to come out and be reflected in the work too, you know.
Yeah.
You know, if horror's your love, then don't run from that. You know, I guess I would think, you know, I mean.
Right. Absolutely. And we've got several projects lined up. And I think that's one thing that made the Vengeance 2 Bloodline so successful is that, you know, we had a very small budget compared to what we did. And so there's a lot of volunteers, a lot of people who put their time, effort, money, talents, everything into it because they loved it. They wanted to do the best they could for the franchise, for the story, for the project.
Right.
And because we have all that love, it's not just somebody saying, oh, this is my job. It's a paycheck and I don't care about this. I'm here to get paid.
Right.
You know, so, but going forward, we have, you know, science fiction, we got fun action, we have more horror, we have a lot of different things, comedies that are all lined up with our team that we have scripts for, that we have stories for, that we're going to go out and build. And the sci-fi ones, the horror ones, those are the ones I'm most excited about, but I'm also excited to get back on set and just be a part of the production.
Now, what would you say to somebody? Because like I've seen on social media before, you know, not so much about the Friday the 13th canon, but more the Michael Myers thing, where I've seen people take shots at like, well, you know, if you're of a certain height and a certain build, there's no lines to memorize. You know, that would be an easy fucking role. What's something hard about playing that role?
Yeah,
that somebody wouldn't realize is actually freaking hard, because it's not one of those things where you just throw a hockey mask on. I mean, you know, when I talked to Brad Lurie on here, he studied like Nick Castle, and he said the way Nick Castle in the original Halloween, that long shot when he's coming across the street and Laurie's trying to find the keys to get in the house, it was just the way his upper body and everything. He's like, it's almost like he glided. He also studied a little bit of Dick Warlock, he said, in the Halloween 2 movie, where he walked with that very straight, almost catatonic gait with like the scalpel out in front of him or whatever. But then he said he got to the point where he just really scaled back to watching Nick Castle in the way he moved in those first movies. But what's something that you would tell somebody who would say, oh, come on, it'd be easy to play Jason. You don't have to speak in it. Your face is covered.
I'd say go watch any other fan film. Go watch anyone else on YouTube. Go watch other people. Go look around and see, because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who've done little bits of film, little bits of, you know, fan films, whatever.
Right.
And you can see a definitive difference in that acting. So I know that when I went into it doing my first time, I said, I'm playing Jason. I can either make or break this film. If I suck, the entire film sucks.
Right.
Everyone else can be bad acting, whatever, but if the Jason's okay, then it's like, okay, it was a fun film. But if Jason sucks and I don't move right and people are out of it, then it's over.
And do you see that as a challenge? Like, God, I've got to channel this character without words and without any expressions, and I can't use my face.
Yeah, absolutely. And like sometimes I have one eye that is shown. And I remember Peter Anthony, who directed Roseblood, he talks about this a lot. In the final scene where Michael Myers shows up and I'm there and all the stuff is going down, he's like, I don't know how the hell you did this, but you took Jason from standing still, you can't move, you're locked in by these powers or whatever. You took him from like being a badass to looking half scared for a second to then being confident, like you're going to go do this. Like you went through this whole emotional thing with one eye. How did you do that with that movement? And that's the thing, is you have to project your actions and your words, your movement through body language. And you can go watch these other films and see like somebody playing Jason or Michael or Leather, whatever, and the way they move, the way they walk, if they're jaunting through the field or whatever, or just kind of casually walking, swaying, they got a swagger, it's not Jason. People know when you're not doing it right. They don't necessarily know enough to say you how to do it. They might have their own thing like, oh, you got to breathe this way or you got to step this way.
Right.
But overall, they know if you're doing it wrong. And they'll tell you like, no, he sucked, or no, it wasn't believable, or it took me out of it because Jason doesn't walk like this, or Jason doesn't stand like that, and Jason doesn't turn like that. And so there's a lot more to it. And if you just go watch, go on YouTube, look up Jason Voorhies performances or Jason Voorhies fan films, and just watch a bunch of them and support all these other fan films.
Yeah,
you'll start to notice a trend and see where you can see certain performers are doing it right. Some people are doing their own thing, which is fantastic, but it may not be what people consider to be Jason. But it's tricky to get the right performance to be like, this is your own thing, but it's absolutely Jason, and people respect it.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it that people don't realize.
Is the horror genre in the film industry, is it respected enough?
It is now. I mean, in the 80s and in the early, late 70s, early 80s, it was like, considered porn, right?
Right. Yeah, very taboo. Yeah. And if you like it, something's wrong with you.
Exactly. And now it's become more of an art form. And you have like the A24 where it's like the elevated horror or whatever.
Yeah.
It's become something like drama and period pieces and war movies. It's like I almost think of war movies as horror sometimes, just because it's got both elements.
I look at a movie like Apocalypse Now as like a horror movie.
Exactly. You have like extreme gore, extreme mutilation and horror, and you have suspense, and you have killers and people killing each other, and but yet it's about war, so then it's okay.
Right.
But you take a horror movie and have a serial killer or other things happening, a ghost, then it somehow becomes taboo. But I think lately, over the last 10 years, 15 years, I think it's become more acceptable and more seen as an art form and more respected. So actors, you get big name actors who are like, yes, I want to be a part of this because it's fun.
Yeah,
and since the stigma's gone, I think it's fun. So people can now enjoy it and be a part of it.
Well, it's funny you brought up war movies, and I mentioned Apocalypse Now, but another one that the heavy metal band Metallica used clips from in their one video, that movie Johnny Got His Gun. Now that was supposed to be protesting war, but when you really think about that guy's plight and being left there as just a torso, unable to talk, see, or hear, that's horror.
That's horror.
Fucking horror, because now you're imagining living like this guy, just laying there as a slab, and he wants to be killed, and he can't convey his feelings to anybody. Like it turns into more of a creepy horror type movie.
It's psychological.
Now is kind of like Martin Sheen is just going down this river, and he's being almost led to the slaughter. He's going to get Marlon Brando's character, who's this rogue colonel. It's gone nuts.
Platoon and Hamburger Hill and
horror
all these things, and smashing skulls in from people that are innocent. It's horror. It is the same effects that you put in a horror film. It's just that you have teenage military people executing those horrors rather than a serial killer, a fictional serial killer. So it's horrific. And I think it's important to understand, experiences of war and what they're telling you, like, this is bad, this is like the reality of horror or war or anything like that. I'm not trying to say like anything negative about it. I'm just saying that I consider that in the same realm of like from a special effects point of view, or like a what makes horror bad kind of point of view, is people going around killing other people with gore. And having suspense and horror and people dying in graphic ways. It's very similar. So
now, do you necessarily enjoy being in front of the camera, or are you somebody who likes that behind the scenes stuff more?
Oh, I love being in front of the camera because I get to play with the effects. I get to be, and I love seeing the stuff we've done. And so we just got done doing a movie called Killcraft, which is an action movie about some assassins and everything. So I played a very small bit, a couple of stunts in there. But we did all the gore and the effects for it. So I'm excited to see our work done, but I also love seeing myself on screen. I love seeing and performing on screen and seeing how that plays out. You
said stunts. Do you do your own stunts, or do you have a background in stunts?
No, I do my own stunts. I've done everything except for one, was the fire stunt in Bloodlines. I wanted to do that so bad. It started off with me talking to our stunt coordinator saying, hey, I need you to go and get me trained up, or get someone to train me on doing a fire stunt. And he said, I got you. So he went and found the team. They came back and said, when are you filming? We figured it all out. He says, we don't have enough time. If we had more time, we could train you on the fire stunt, but we don't. We're going to get a body double and do it that way. I'm like, please. And I begged them. And they're like, no, it's about safety and it's about doing it right and being, whatever. And I'm like, yep, you're right. In the end of the day, I want to be safe and everything, but I'm very envious. I'm very jealous. I wanted to do that fire stunt so bad, but Thomas Marshall, my stunt double, he did an amazing job on that. Otherwise, I've done on my own.
What is it about the stunt, though, when you do got somebody waiting in the wings that can do it for you? What is it about the stunt when you could bow out that you feel compelled, that's drawing you to do it? Just is it just like an adrenaline rush? Is it just something you want to see that if you can do it?
I think it's a little bit of everything, and it depends on the stunt. So when at the end of Bloodlines, when Tommy Jarvis comes in and shoots me with a shotgun, I go flying through the wall and through the railings, and everything goes falling down, and that's me. And getting hit by the truck is me falling down, and all these and tumbling and all that stuff. And when I can watch the film and see myself as the character going through all the stuff, it legitimizes it. It makes it feel more like, yes, that's me. I did this character. Where I feel like if I had to put someone else in a stunt suit and I'm the one walking around doing the killing while someone else takes the bumps and bruises as Jason and looks badass doing it,
right.
I'm only encompassing a portion of that. I really want to be the full character in this film. And it feels like almost cheating a little bit to have someone else come and do that for you.
Yeah.
But I understand why it's important too. Because if I broke in Roseblood, I broke my arm, I got metal in my eye, I had a lot of injuries, sliced my hands, and then in Bloodlines broke my ribs twice, and had to continue carrying on. But if it was worse, then production is stopped, and what are we going to do? So
yeah,
it's
Jesus,
good to have
you said that whoever said that Hollywood life is glamorous, huh? With a medical portfolio like that.
Yeah.
You've earned your stripes, my friend. Jeez, man. I mean, you're taking a few bumps for the team.
I have, and I'm not proud of it.
You don't have any stunt training though, right? Like you just said, just let me take these bumps.
Well, some of it in the early days, it was just the bumps and bruises, but I have had some minor training for the actual things themselves. We brought stunt coordinators in to say, train me for this, or how can we do this safely? And so we learned for the moment. But stunt school, no, where I learned everything as a broad thing. I haven't yet. I would love to. I think that'd be a great time. But we did have professionals around to make sure that the stunts were done properly.
So going forward, what do you got coming up in the future? What endeavors you got coming up? Do you have any side projects? Do you do anything other than in the film industry?
So all the projects we have going on right now, we got like 3 films coming up that we have scripts for, a couple of shorts that we're doing, some experimental things. We're doing a few feature films. I've got a feature film that I'm working on right now, a horror film that I'd love to get done. We're working on some music videos. Nice. My partner Naomi, we run Real Fiction Studios. It's an effects company, and production company. So we are supplying effects and gore and everything, makeup and everything to a lot of different productions. We also have Cody, our DP from Bloodlines. He has got a couple of films coming up. We have a sci-fi one, we have a horror one, an action one. We have a lot in the pipeline. It's a matter of which one gets funded first, where we get our production starting first. Right. And so we're busy. We have a lot of really fun things coming up.
Obviously technology, and I talk to a lot of musicians here on my show, but what is it like trying to shop these scripts and get projects greenlit, so to speak, in the in your end of the entertainment industry? Is it tough? I mean, to make a living these days?
Yeah, I mean, I have a full-time job outside of all this where I'm a vice president of a cosmetics company. Okay. And so I have my day job. And then after hours, I come home and I start sitting at the computer. I start working on all the movie stuff. The weekends, I'm working on movie things. And then my vacation days for the last 5 years have all been spent making movies. So yeah, it's like, oh, we have to go spend 3 days filming. I guess I'm taking vacation. And so, and my work has been very understanding, and I appreciate that. And, but my CEO is also an actress herself. And so I try to bring her on to projects too, because we have a lot of fun together doing these kind of things. But it's just a lot of work. If you want it, you have to earn it, and you have to work for it, right?
No question. Yeah.
It's a lot. But when you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Right. That's that's the absolute pinnacle right there of it. So I guess I got to ask you this one, being a horror fan, have you seen this Halloween Ends yet?
I have.
And your opinion of it?
We saw that one several weeks ago. You know, as a movie itself, so just to put it out there, I'm not a movie critic. I can look at a movie and look at it for the effects. I can look at it for the acting. I can look at it for the costumes, for the production design, and find appreciation in the crappiest, shittiest little movie.
Right.
So I'm very open to that. There's only been a couple movies where I'm like, wow, I almost turned that off.
Yeah.
But Halloween Ends, as a movie, I thought it was decent.
Yeah.
The acting was good, production was good, a lot was really good. Would I have wanted that story going into it? Not necessarily. Am I mad at it? No.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they wanted to take it, you know, and that was I entertained? Yeah. You know, I would have liked to have seen more Michael in it. I would have liked to have seen Michael going around for his last shot and really
one last big hurrah.
Exactly.
So to speak.
But instead it's like, oh, now I have to go back in time and see the last one and say that was his last big hurrah. This is just whatever. So I wanted to like it so much. You know, I have so much heart for Halloween, so much love for the Halloween franchise.
Yeah.
I wanted more from it for my own thing, but that's the thing as a filmmaker I also have to respect.
Right.
Is when somebody comes in and writes the movie or makes the movie.
Right.
It's not, they're making their version. They're not making everybody else's, and you will never make everyone happy.
Right. But like that being said, though, you know, when the Halloween Ends label is put on it, that pretty much just means that Blumhouse and David Gordon Green are done with it. But that doesn't mean, you know, 2, 3, 5 years from now that somebody else doesn't pick this thing up and try and reinvigorate Michael Myers.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
absolutely. And now with, I mean, again, going back to Star Wars, they're able to go to the timelines and they're making like they have their main franchise, but they're taking little tangents off of the storylines, and going to other directions. There's like what we did with Vengeance. We took part 6, kind of ignored 7, 8, 9, X, and we kind of went on our own timeline. Right. And Roseblood took part 7, did the same thing, went on its own timeline. And so you could take these pieces that you love and follow a new path and have it be entertaining. And I think that that's becoming more and more acceptable. Like with Halloween, where it took part 1, might have been part 2 also, and said from here on is what we're going. We're ignoring everything else.
Yes.
And so it's like that's becoming more norm, so that you could say, okay, forget the stuff that kind of went on back in the day.
Right. Choose your timeline, so to speak. Which one you want to follow more?
Exactly. And so I think that's becoming more acceptable. And I think we'll get more and more of that in the future, just my own opinion, because of anthologies or stories or short story. Well, people are loving more content, and it's not as important anymore to people to say, wait, this didn't happen over here in this one. How can you go here? It's starting to become acceptable. And if there's a new Halloween coming up in the future where they're like, you know what, we liked 1 through 4, let's make a new 5, or
we'll spin off that timeline, right?
Or let's just reboot the whole damn thing, you know, let's go back to the beginning.
If the money's there, and Michael Myers is such an iconic character that every couple of years it feels like people want to see him and be spooked by him, you know?
Yeah, people always want more, and they could rewrite it. People are going to love it, and people are going to hate it, because they're always going to remember that I fell in love with the first one. This is not the first one.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's so hard to hold up to that 1978 John Carpenter one. You know what I mean? Like that is really horror done well. And I talked about it on here before. It's so iconic because it's just that slow burn where you just know he's getting closer to the girls throughout the night, but it's all dark and shadowy, and there's really quite noticeably the absence of blood. It doesn't hang its head on a lot of gore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of real bona fide jump scares. Of course, that score obviously sets the whole thing off, you know what I mean? That's super creepy, you know. I mean, it's really horror done at its highest level.
Absolutely. It's a lot of cat and mouse. It's suspense. It's stalking.
Yeah.
It's, oh no, the boogeyman is around the
Everything
corner.
that scares us.
Moment.
Yeah. Everything that scares. So where can people find you out there if they want to keep up on what you're doing? Are you on all the platforms, Instagram, all that good stuff?
I am. I'm the Jason Brooks official on most things. The Jason Brooks on others. So you just find Jason Brooks. F13 Vengeance fan page you can find on Facebook. I'm on TikTok as well. Easy to find me. But everywhere where there's a social media platform, you can find one version or another of the Jason Brooks.
Here we are, just two guys that inherited our legend status. You got it from Jason. I got it from being the son of David Lee Roth.
You ate what?
You know, tongue in cheek, please. I mean,
oh, I was like,
I love how excited you got, though. I mean, look at the poster. Come on, though, man. I mean, no.
Yeah, right.
No, believe me, when I go to work, I take this hair off and I leave it home on a hanger. So,
oh man,
yeah, I know. Believe me, man. I would love a little bit of that Van Halen money. It's nice that you got so excited, though. I mean,
I know. I used to have the long hair too, and then started thinning on the top. It didn't look right anymore, so I had to cut it. But I miss it.
DNA testing is still in the works. You know, what I mean, I feel like I got some Roth in me. I can feel it right here in my heart. You know.
Well, it's David Lee Roth, so it's possible. It's He had a good
and of course, I got my consigliere over there working the door, the infamous Keith Hernandez puppet. I don't know if you know who Keith Hernandez is, but
no,
the legendary Mets first baseman.
No, I'm up in Seattle.
Yeah. Those New York sports references are going to go right over your head. I know.
Exactly.
Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. It's been a blast. I could sit here and talk to you for fucking hours about movies and shit, man. But I appreciate you, fucking killing damn near an hour with me, man. It's been a blast talking to you.
Oh, you too. I really appreciate it.
And we'll stay in touch. We'll stay in touch when you got some more stuff coming out. We'll stay in touch, and we'll hopefully do this again when you got some more shit to promote.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job continuing to keep fucking bludgeoning people and hurting people and killing people because the world needs it. The world needs Jason Voorhies, and the world needs horror.
1000%.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, man.
You too.
Been a blast, brother. All right, take it easy, man.
All right, bye.
Later. And there you have it, folks. Pardon me that I was talking a little fast when I came on the air, but time was of the essence. Jason was trying to get into the room as I had sent the link to him, so I kind of gave my little spiel very quick. My, son of glam, front man for the band, wap bap loo bop wap bam bam. But I will say that I appreciate all my guests that come on here. Love them all to death that they come on here and chop it up with me, man. That was Jason Brooks. You heard him. You can find him all over the place, man. He is Jason Voorhies. So should you choose to not go check him out, there could be serious repercussions, i.e. you may be bludgeoned, stabbed, sliced open, impaled. A lot of bad things could happen to you, man, if you fucking, you diss Jason, man. So go support that dude, Jason Brooks. Hell of a fucking guy, man. And loves his horror, man. And who the fuck doesn't? So if he's going to keep delivering it unto us, I say bring it on, man. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Pod Scum. And remember, until next time, take it easy and keep it sleazy.